The Grand Assembly Hall of the Orion Confederacy stood like a shining jewel in the center of the galaxy. Its domed ceiling sparkled with artificial starlight, reflecting the blue glow of the chamber floor. Hundreds of delegates from different alien species sat behind curved silver desks arranged in a vast circle, each being represented a world, a system, or an empire. They had gathered to discuss laws, trade, peace, and power. At one corner of this magnificent circle sat Captain Elias Ward, the human representative from Earth. He wore a simple gray uniform with the symbol of the United Earth Union on his shoulder. His brown eyes scanned the room quietly. Compared to the others, he looked ordinary. No glowing skin, no wings, no telepathic aura. Just a man sitting among giants. Humanity was new here. Only 20 years had passed since Earth was invited to join the Orion Confederacy. In those 20 years, humans had worked hard to prove they were not just another primitive race reaching for the stars. They built ships, shared medicine, and even helped solve energy crises across colonies. Yet many species still saw them as reckless, emotional, and impatient. Elias knew that reputation well. He also knew that today's meeting could either improve it or destroy it completely. The main topic for this session was about solarite, a newly discovered mineral. Solarity could power starships for centuries without running out. The problem was that it came from a dead world known as Vora 9. A planet with no life, no atmosphere, only dust and stone. But under that dust was a treasure powerful enough to shift the balance of the galaxy, and humans had already started mining it. That fact alone made the assembly uneasy. Other races wanted solarite to be shared or restricted. Some even accused humanity of greed. Today's session was meant to discuss ethics, but everyone knew it would be an interrogation. Across the hall sat Ambassador Syra of the Valari Dominion. Her tall, elegant form shimmered with soft violet light. Her species had existed for over 50,000 years. The Valari were known for their beauty, wisdom, and sharp tongues. They spoke with calm words, but their sentences always had hidden edges. Syra leaned back in her seat, studying Elias like a scientist examining a strange insect. To her, humans were interesting, but also unpredictable. Their history was filled with wars, yet they spoke of peace. Their culture was full of compassion, yet they were known for ambition. She believed they were still children of the stars, pretending to be adults. The assembly began with long speeches. One by one, ambassadors took turns speaking. A creature of metal and gas complained about mining rights. A winged diplomat argued for environmental respect. A being made of crystal requested scientific cooperation. Elias listened quietly, noting how often the word human was whispered after every speech. He remained calm. He knew this pattern well. Every assembly started the same way, polite words hiding sharp judgment. Finally, the grand speaker, a tall crystalline being named the Archon, raised its many arms. Its voice sounded like a chorus of bells. "Representatives," it said, "we have heard many voices today. But there remains one voice yet to speak, the human representative of Earth. Captain Elias Ward, the floor is yours." Elias stood slowly. The hum of conversation faded. Dozens of glowing eyes and strange faces turned toward him. He could feel their curiosity and suspicion pressing down on him like gravity. He walked to the center of the hall and stood under the starlit dome. His boots echoed on the shining floor. He could see his own reflection in it, a small human among towering figures from across the galaxy. He began to speak. "Thank you, Grand Speaker." "Members of the Assembly," Elias said politely, "humanity respects this council. We came here not to defend greed, but to share understanding. Vora 9 was a dead world. No life, no mind, no voice. Our scientists confirmed this many times. The solarite we mine there does not belong to any living species. We use it to power hospitals, ships, and colonies that serve the Confederacy as a whole." A ripple of murmurs spread across the hall. Some nodded, some frowned. Syra's glowing eyes narrowed slightly. She could sense the human was well prepared. Still, she wanted to see how easily he could be shaken. When Elias paused, she took her chance. "Captain Ward," she said, her tone calm but piercing. "If your people truly respect life, why not leave the mineral untouched? Do you think your young species understands ethics better than those who have survived for thousands of years?" The hall grew quiet. Even the translator lights dimmed slightly as if the air itself waited for his answer. It was not just a question, it was a test. Everyone could hear the hidden meaning. What makes humans think they have the right to act like equals among us? Some aliens smiled softly, expecting Elias to falter. Others whispered, waiting for the usual human pride to show. But Elias didn't react right away. He looked around the chamber, meeting the gaze of each ambassador, one by one. Inside, he could feel the weight of their expectations. He knew this moment mattered. Humanity's reputation, Earth's place in this council, and his own honor, all balanced on how he chose to respond. He took a slow breath and remained silent for a few seconds. The silence itself felt heavy. Then calmly he spoke again. "No, Ambassador Sira," he said. "We don't claim to understand ethics better than anyone here. We understand something different, what it means to pay a price." The room shifted. Sira tilted her head slightly, interested despite herself. Elias continued, his voice steady but filled with quiet strength. "When humanity first reached the stars, we made mistakes. We took too much, too fast. We polluted, we fought, we lost. We learned that progress always has a cost. Every time we take something from a world, we remember the loss that comes with it. We don't celebrate it, we mark it. We study it. We teach our children about it." He turned toward the assembly seats. "We mine solarite not because we are careless, but because we hope to build something lasting with it. We use it to light homes, to save lives, to travel further without destroying what we leave behind. If we are wrong, then we will face that truth, but not hide from it." As he spoke, a strange stillness filled the room. The echoes of his words lingered longer than any sound before. The confidence in his tone was not arrogance, it was honesty. Sira said nothing for a moment. Her sharp question had failed to corner him. Instead, he had turned it into something larger, something even she could not argue with easily. For a species so young, his words carried the weight of centuries. The Grand Speaker's crystal form flickered slightly, reflecting light like starlight through glass. "The human representative has spoken with reason," it announced. "The discussion will continue in our next session." Elias nodded respectfully and returned to his seat. Around him, quiet whispers rose and fell like wind. Some alien delegates seemed thoughtful, others were unsettled. But none looked at him with the same disdain as before. As the session ended, Sira's eyes followed Elias as he left the hall. There was something in his expression that she couldn't quite understand. A quiet confidence, a human quality that felt both fragile and unbreakable. For her, the question had been meant to embarrass. But instead, his answer had brought silence, and that silence spoke louder than anything else in the galaxy. The next morning, the Grand Assembly Hall stood quiet. The air shimmered softly under the glowing lights of the upper dome. No speeches, no noise, no chaos, only the faint hum of energy from the chamber walls. Yet everyone in the Orion Confederacy was talking about one thing: the human. Captain Elias Ward's words from the previous session had spread faster than any official broadcast. Across star systems, through comms and data streams, aliens were discussing how a human, just a single man, had silenced an entire council of galactic powers. Some called it manipulation, others called it wisdom, but no one could deny that something unusual had happened. Inside his small diplomatic quarters, Elias sat at a metal desk, reviewing reports on a holographic screen. He had barely slept. The message he sent yesterday was clear, but the political ripples it caused were unpredictable. Some races respected honesty. Others saw it as weakness. Still, Elias had no regrets. He hadn't gone there to win friends. He had gone to make humanity's voice heard. His assistant, Lieutenant Kara Lynn, a young woman with dark eyes and a calm voice, entered quietly. "Sir," she said, holding a small data pad, "messages are flooding in from several delegations. Some wish to meet you privately." Elias looked up, surprised. "Privately? That's quick," Kara nodded. "Yes, sir. The Auran, the Kryn, and even the Vexari have sent invitations. But," she hesitated for a moment, "the Valari Dominion also requested a private discussion. Ambassador Sira herself." Elias leaned back in his chair, raising an eyebrow. "Sira, the same one who tried to corner me yesterday?" "Yes, sir," Kara replied softly. "She said it's a clarification meeting." He smiled faintly. "A clarification meeting usually means someone wants to make sure you didn't make them look bad." Kara gave a small laugh. "Should I schedule it?" "Of course," Melius said. "I'd rather face her directly than through whispers." The meeting a few hours later, Elias arrived at the Valari Embassy Dome, a structure made of transparent blue crystal that shimmered like liquid light. Inside, the air smelled faintly of flowers that didn't exist on any earthly garden. Valari art filled the walls, spirals of glowing threads, moving in slow rhythm as if alive. Sira waited near a tall window overlooking the stars. Her posture was graceful, her expression unreadable. She turned as Elias entered, her violet eyes studying him carefully. "Captain Ward," she greeted smoothly. "You caused quite an echo in the assembly yesterday." Elias smiled politely. "That wasn't my intention, Ambassador." "Perhaps not," she said, walking closer. "But your words traveled far. The younger species admire you now. They think humans are bold. Some even call you inspiring." Elias chuckled lightly. "I didn't mean to start a movement. I only told the truth." Sira folded her hands behind her back. "Truth is a powerful thing, Captain. Sometimes it unites, sometimes it divides." She moved toward a table where 2 glasses of blue liquid rested. "Sit," she said. "Let us talk without the eyes of the galaxy watching." Elias sat across from her. He could feel the soft vibration of energy beneath the crystal floor. Everything here felt alive, elegant, and carefully designed, just like the woman sitting before him. Sira spoke slowly. "You humans are a young species. You climb fast, too fast. And yet when challenged, you answer not with aggression, but with something else, emotion, honesty. It confuses the old ones." Elias listened quietly. Sira continued, her tone thoughtful. "I asked that question yesterday to test you, to see if humans would react like so many others, with pride, with anger. But you did something I didn't expect. You made the hall silent." Elias looked at her with calm eyes. "Silence isn't always defeat. Sometimes it's understanding." For a moment, neither spoke. The stars outside the window drifted slowly, painting soft light across the crystal walls. Sira finally said, "Do you truly believe your species belongs among us? Among civilizations that have existed since before your world had fire?" Elias took a deep breath. "We don't belong above anyone, Ambassador. But we belong with everyone. That's what we believe. Humanity isn't perfect, we've made countless mistakes. But we learn, and we keep trying to do better. That's all we can offer." Sira studied him for a long time. There was something in his voice, a quiet steadiness that couldn't be faked. "You speak as though your world has known much pain," she said softly. Elias nodded. "It has. Every generation on Earth carries the memory of loss, but we also carry hope. That balance between loss and hope is what makes us human. Unexpected respect." For a moment, Sira said nothing. Her glowing eyes softened slightly, and she looked away toward the stars. "The Valari once had that balance too," she said quietly. "But long ago we forgot how to feel it. We became careful, cautious, detached. Watching your kind reminds us of something we lost." Elias was surprised by her honesty. It was rare for a Valari to admit weakness, even indirectly. He smiled gently. "Maybe that's why the galaxy needs diversity. Each species keeps another from losing something important." Sira looked back at him, almost smiling. "You speak like a philosopher, Captain." "Just a human trying to understand," Elias said. A moment of silence passed, peaceful and unforced. The earlier tension between them had faded, replaced by mutual respect. Then Sira's communicator blinked with a soft tone. She touched it lightly, and a holographic image appeared in the air. A Valari guard spoke quickly, his expression tense. "Ambassador, we've received reports from the Vora 9 sector," the guard said. "There has been an incident at the human mining base." Elias straightened instantly. "What kind of incident?" "Unknown," the guard replied. "Sensors detected an energy fluctuation beneath the planet's surface. The entire mining operation is offline." Sira dismissed the hologram and turned to Elias. "It seems your people may face more questions soon." Elias's jaw tightened slightly, but his voice stayed calm. "Then I'd better be ready with more answers." The rumor spreads by evening. The story of the Vora 9 incident had reached the assembly. Speculation filled the halls. Some whispered that humans had triggered a disaster. Others believed they had uncovered something ancient. Elias spent the night in the observation deck, staring at the distant stars. His thoughts were heavy. Humanity had just begun to earn the galaxy's respect, and now another challenge had appeared. Kara entered quietly, holding a data pad. "Sir," she said, "we received partial data from the last transmission. It's corrupted, but one line is readable." She handed him the pad. Elias looked down and read the words glowing in blue. Not natural. It's waking up, he frowned. Waking up? What does that mean? Kara shook her head. No idea, sir. But if it's true, it could change everything. Elias looked out at the endless stars once more. He didn't know what awaited them on Vora 9, but one thing was clear. The galaxy was watching. Every action, every decision would shape how humanity was seen from now on. And deep down, he knew that the real test had just begun. The quiet before the storm. The next morning, as the assembly prepared for another session, the air buzzed with rumors. Delegates exchanged worried glances. Even the Grand Speaker's crystal form pulsed with unease. Syra sat at her place, unusually silent. She glanced across the hall at Elias. For the first time, she felt something unexpected, not skepticism, but concern. She wondered if the young human truly understood the storm that was coming. Elias, sitting quietly, adjusted his data tablet and prepared his report. His expression was calm, but inside his mind, plans were forming. Whatever was happening on Vora 9, he would face it the only way humans knew how, with courage, reason, and determination. As the lights of the hall brightened and the session began, a quiet thought crossed Syra's mind. Maybe silence isn't weakness after all. Maybe it's the sound of something stronger, something human. The stars above Vora 9 shimmered like cold diamonds. The dead planet turned slowly beneath them, its surface covered in gray dust and jagged mountains of black stone. Once, long ago, it might have been a living world. Now it was silent, broken, and empty, or at least that was what everyone had believed. The human mining base sat near the edge of a massive crater called Epsilon Rift. Machines stood frozen, their lights flickering weakly. The air was thin, breathable only through sealed suits. Deep beneath the surface, human engineers had been digging for weeks, pulling out bright veins of solarite, the mineral that could power civilizations. But something strange had started happening 2 days ago. Sensors picked up rhythmic pulses like a heartbeat, coming from far below the mining shafts. At first, the team thought it was a glitch. Then the ground began to tremble, and now, all contact had been lost. The assembly's concern back on the Orion assembly station, the tension was thick. News about the Vora 9 mining base spread quickly, filling the council halls with rumors. Delegates whispered about ancient technology, hidden dangers, and human recklessness. In the center of the hall, Captain Elias Ward stood facing the Grand Speaker. His face was calm, but his thoughts were racing. Behind him, large screens displayed static images of the mining colony. Communication offline, signal weak. The last message from the surface was this, said the Grand Speaker. Its crystalline body flickered, and the screen replayed the words from the corrupted message. Not natural. It's waking up. A cold silence filled the room. Elias kept his voice steady. We don't know what caused it yet. My crew is preparing an investigation team. We'll go there ourselves to find out what's happening. Ambassador Syra of the Valari leaned forward slightly, her expression serious. You plan to go personally? That's risky, Captain. The energy readings are unstable. You could lose more people, Elias nodded. I know. But those people on the colony are my responsibility. Humanity doesn't abandon its own. A quiet murmur passed through the assembly. Some admired his determination. Others called it foolish. But none could deny the respect in his voice. Syra sighed softly. If you insist on going, then at least allow the Dominion to send one of our observers. To ensure transparency. Elias looked at her and gave a faint, understanding smile. Of course, Ambassador. You can come too if you're not afraid of a little dust. To his surprise, she didn't refuse. Very well, she said. Let us see what lies beneath your human courage. The descent to Vora 9, the transport ship UEV Horizon, left the assembly station with a low hum. Its silver hull reflected the starlight as it entered hyperspace. Inside, the crew worked quietly. Elias stood near the front viewport, watching the glowing tunnel of space ahead. Syra stood beside him, her calm presence like a reflection of the stars. I've studied humans for years, she said softly, breaking the silence. You never stop surprising me. You face danger even when retreat is wiser. Elias smiled a little. Maybe. But retreating doesn't change what's waiting out there. It just delays it. She tilted her head, thoughtful. And what if what's waiting cannot be faced at all? He looked out at the stars. Then we face it anyway. The ship dropped out of hyperspace and the dusty world of Vora 9 appeared below. The atmosphere shimmered faintly under the sunlight. The colony looked small, like a few silver dots on a gray desert. "Prepare landing," Elias ordered. The ship descended through thin clouds of ash. The surface looked like frozen waves of stone, carved by time and silence. As they landed near the abandoned base, the crew quickly began scanning for life signs. Minimal oxygen, radiation levels normal, but "There's a deep energy signature underground," said Lieutenant Kara Lynn, checking her tablet. Elias frowned. "Is it from the mining equipment?" She shook her head. "No, sir. It's coming from below the mining shafts, far below." Syra glanced at the readings. Her glowing eyes narrowed slightly. "That energy pattern. It's not mechanical. It's harmonic." "Harmonic?" Elias asked. "It's like a song," she said quietly. "A pattern of tones and rhythm, too regular to be random." The discovery. The group moved down into the mining tunnels. Their helmet lights cut through the darkness, revealing walls of black stone laced with glowing solarite veins. The deeper they went, the stronger the strange vibration became. At the lowest shaft, the tunnel ended in a massive circular chamber, partly natural, partly carved. The floor was covered with strange markings that no one recognized. In the center stood a structure made of smooth metal, tall, shaped like a pillar, with spiraling patterns running up its sides. It pulsed faintly with blue light. Kara stepped closer. "This wasn't built by our machines." Elias nodded slowly. "No, this was already here." Syra walked around the pillar, touching the air near its surface without making contact. "It's old, very old. This isn't Valari or Orin or Kryn design. It's something older than all of us." Suddenly, the pillar emitted a soft hum. The markings on the floor began to glow, spreading light across the chamber. The crew stepped back quickly. "Sir, energy levels rising," Kara shouted. Elias raised a hand. "Hold position!" "No weapons. Don't touch anything." Then, as the hum reached a low tone, a holographic image appeared above the pillar. It showed a swirling galaxy, stars, planets, and then a single symbol glowing bright red. A circle surrounded by lines. Syrah's voice was quiet, almost reverent. "It's a warning symbol." The hologram shifted again, showing what looked like massive machines orbiting a star, breaking apart, then going dark. Kara whispered, "Is it showing a disaster?" Elias studied the projection. "Maybe it's a message from whoever was here before us." As quickly as it appeared, the hologram faded. The pillar's light dimmed, returning to silence. Elias exhaled slowly. "Record everything. We'll take the data back to the assembly. Maybe they can translate the symbols." Syra nodded, still staring at the pillar. "Whatever this was, it wasn't meant to be disturbed. Perhaps your mining woke something ancient." Elias looked around the glowing walls. "Then it's our responsibility to understand it and protect it." The return to the surface. The crew climbed back up the tunnels, carrying data cores and scans. The hum beneath the ground was quiet again, but they all felt the weight of what they'd found. When they reached the surface, the wind had begun to rise. Fine dust swirled across the barren plains. The sky shimmered faintly as if something unseen moved behind the thin clouds. "Sir," Kara said, looking at her readings, "energy is spreading again, slow but constant. Whatever that thing is, it's not done yet." Elias looked back toward the crater. "Then we'll have to make sure it doesn't harm anyone." Syra folded her hands behind her back. "The assembly will demand an explanation. They will blame humanity for this." Elias nodded quietly. "They already blame us for being human. One more reason won't change much." She looked at him seriously. "You'll stand against them again?" "If I must," Elias said, meeting her gaze. "Silence is powerful, Ambassador, but sometimes it needs a voice to guide it." The message to the assembly hours later, aboard the Horizon, Elias sent a coded transmission to the Orion assembly. His message was calm, direct, and clear. "We discovered an ancient structure beneath Vora 9. It appears to be a pre-Confederacy artifact, possibly sentient or automated. It is not hostile, but it is active. We recommend sealing the site and conducting research under joint supervision. Humanity will take full responsibility for the excavation." He ended the message with a firm line. "We came here for energy. We found a warning. Let us not repeat the mistakes of those who came before." As he finished sending the report, Syra stood beside him, her expression thoughtful. "You've just turned potential blame into cooperation," she said. "You spoke like a leader of more than just humans." Elias looked out at the stars. "Maybe someday we'll earn that title." The silence returns later as the ship orbited Vora 9. The crew looked down at the planet. From space, it looked peaceful again, just another lifeless world. But deep below, the faint hum still echoed, as if something beneath the dust had heard their arrival. Cyrus stood at the viewport beside Elias. "Do you think it's truly silent now?" she asked quietly. Elias shook his head. "No, true silence never lasts long. It's just the universe holding its breath." And somewhere under the gray stone, the ancient pillar pulsed once more, slowly, like the beat of a distant heart. The Orion assembly station was alive with tension. Screens flickered with reports from Vora 9, and every delegate spoke in hurried, overlapping voices. The Grand Speaker's crystalline form pulsed rapidly, a visual sign of unease. Normally composed, the assembly had rarely seen a situation stir so much alarm. Captain Elias Ward entered the main hall with Lieutenant Cara Lynn and Ambassador Syra of the Valari Dominion at his side. The murmurs died down quickly. Every delegate's attention turned toward the human. For many, the young species' calmness was still a mystery. How could one man command such influence in the middle of a crisis? Elias took a deep breath. He had sent his report the night before. An ancient structure beneath Vora 9, active, possibly sentient, and non-hostile. But he also included a warning. Humanity would take responsibility for studying it. But the assembly must cooperate for the sake of safety. The Grand Speaker's voice rang out, clear and commanding. "Captain Ward, you have caused unprecedented concern across the Confederacy. Delegates demand an explanation. How does humanity intend to handle this anomaly?" Elias stepped forward, keeping his tone calm but confident. "Honored Speaker, members of the Assembly," he began. "Our mission on Vora 9 was to harvest solarite, a resource unclaimed by any living species. During excavation, we discovered an ancient structure buried deep beneath the surface. It is not designed by any known civilization in our galaxy, and its energy patterns suggest a technology far older than our recorded history. It is active but shows no hostile behavior toward life. Humanity proposes careful study, with joint supervision by interested species, to prevent any misunderstanding or danger." The hall erupted in chatter. Some delegates whispered in shock. Others frowned, muttering about the recklessness of humans. From her seat, Ambassador Syra leaned slightly toward Elias. "You've made a bold move," she said softly. "Most would have tried to downplay it, but you presented the facts clearly and honestly." Elias nodded. "Truth often inspires fear, Ambassador. But fear doesn't solve problems." Voices of doubt. A winged delegate, Korath of the Orin, rose from his seat. His feathers glimmered in the chamber lights. "Captain Ward," Korath said, his voice sharp. "Your species entered an unclaimed planet, disturbed unknown structures, and now asks for cooperation? How can we trust humans to act responsibly, when even the Valari admit it could be dangerous?" Elias met his gaze. "Korath, humanity has faced its own mistakes for centuries. We remember them. We act carefully because we understand consequences. We are not perfect, but we do not act recklessly with knowledge of the unknown." Korath blinked, slightly taken aback. "You speak boldly. But what proof do we have that you will not disturb or misuse it further?" Elias calmly activated his datapad. A holographic display projected the scans taken from Vora 9. The ancient structure glowed faintly in the image, surrounded by the mining tunnels. The data clearly showed that no human equipment had touched the structure directly. "The structure remains undisturbed," Elias explained. "We only observed, recorded, and withdrew. We seek guidance from the Assembly before further steps. Humanity does not act alone when the safety of the galaxy is at stake." A hush fell over the hall. Some delegates looked surprised. Others exchanged uneasy glances. Humans were known for courage, but rarely for measured caution. Elias' words demonstrated both. Unexpected support from the back of the hall, a crystalline delegate named Xylar of the Vixari stood. Their voice resonated like harmonics across the chamber. "Perhaps we should consider a cooperative approach," Xylar said. "If humans detected something ancient, unknown, and potentially dangerous, it is better that they reported it immediately than attempted to claim it as property. That is responsible behavior." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. Some delegates began nodding. The tide of opinion started to shift. Even Korath of the Orin remained silent for a moment, studying the data. Finally, he said, "I see. Your species may not be reckless after all, but caution will be required. The galaxy cannot afford mistakes with such ancient technology." Elias inclined his head. "Caution is our first rule, Korath. Curiosity is our second. But curiosity without respect is not humanity's way." Syra's observation ambassador Syra had remained quiet during most of the debate. Now she rose, her violet glow faint but noticeable. She addressed the hall directly, her voice steady. "I must admit, I questioned humanity yesterday. I asked Captain Ward to see if humans were as reckless as their reputation suggests. I expected pride, arrogance, or defiance. Instead, I received clarity, honesty, and responsibility. That is more than most civilizations at this stage would demonstrate. Perhaps we misjudged them." A ripple of acknowledgement moved through the chamber. Even delegates who had doubted humanity began to reconsider. Syra turned slightly to Elias, her eyes reflecting the starlight. For the first time, she acknowledged something quietly to herself. Humans had a rare quality, a balance of courage, honesty, and reflection. They were young, yes, but their potential was undeniable. The decision. The Grand Speaker's many crystalline arms moved in a deliberate pattern. Its voice rang out deep and clear. "The Orion Assembly will approve a joint mission to study the structure beneath Vora-9. Humanity will lead the investigation, but representatives from Balari, Oren, Vexari, and other interested species will participate. The site is to be treated with extreme care. Any action against the structure without consensus will be considered a breach of assembly law." The delegates murmured. Some nodded. Others looked cautious but accepting. The decision was unanimous. Though wary, the assembly recognized humanity's honesty and willingness to cooperate. Elias exhaled slowly, relief washing over him. He had expected resistance, perhaps blame, but not this level of acceptance. Humanity had earned a small but important victory. Preparation for the mission back on the UEV horizon. Preparations for the joint mission began immediately. Engineers, scientists, and diplomats boarded the ship, all assigned to the new project. Elias walked through the ship's main deck, checking systems and ensuring communication channels were secure. Lieutenant Kara Lynn followed, carrying updates from the assembly. "Sir," Kara said, "all delegations confirmed participation. Falari, Orin, Vexari, and even minor species want a seat on the expedition. They trust you." "Mostly," Elias smiled faintly. "Mostly is better than nothing. Humans are used to earning trust slowly." Syra appeared beside him, watching the preparations. "You have a strange way of commanding respect," she said quietly. "You do it without threats or pride, only honesty and calm." "It is unusual, Captain." Elias chuckled. "Maybe that's our secret, or maybe the galaxy hasn't seen enough humans yet." A quiet moment. As the crew prepared for departure, Elias stepped onto the observation deck. Below, Vora-9 turned slowly, gray and lifeless but no longer entirely silent. The faint hum from beneath the dust lingered in his mind, a reminder that discovery often came with mystery and responsibility. Sarah joined him, her gaze on the horizon. "Do you think the structure will cooperate?" she asked softly. Elias shook his head slightly. "It's not about cooperation, Ambassador. We don't know its nature yet, but we can respect it. Observation first, interference second. That is all we can promise," she nodded, impressed despite herself. "And humanity will lead by example?" "Always," Elias said firmly. "It's the only way to survive, and to earn the galaxy's respect." The calm before the next step. That night, as the stars stretched across the observation deck, the crew of the Horizon rested. Everyone understood the importance of what lay ahead. Vora-9 was no longer just a dead planet. Beneath its surface was something ancient, unknown, and powerful. Elias stood quietly, thinking about the assembly, the pillar, and the whispers of the galaxy. He knew that the next steps would test not only humanity's courage but its wisdom, its honesty, and its ability to inspire trust across species that had lived for tens of thousands of years. Somewhere beneath the gray dust of Vora-9, the ancient structure pulsed softly like a heartbeat waiting to be understood. And somewhere within the assembly, whispers of admiration, curiosity, and respect for humans began to grow. The species that had once been underestimated were no longer just observers of the galaxy. They were becoming participants in its most mysterious and important discoveries. Elias exhaled slowly and whispered to himself, "The real test is only beginning." And for the first time in the history of the Orion Confederacy, a young human had united caution, courage, and honesty in a way that even the oldest civilizations could not ignore. The UEV horizon descended slowly toward Vora 9. The dust-covered surface stretched endlessly below, broken by jagged craters and deep canyons. From space, the dead planet seemed quiet, lifeless, and harmless. But Elias Ward knew better. Beneath the gray crust of the world lay something ancient, something older than any species in the galaxy. Something that had been dormant for thousands, perhaps millions of years, and now it had awakened, just enough to draw attention. The joint expedition team waited in the docking bay of the horizon, composed of humans, Valari, Auran Vexari, and minor species scientists and engineers. They carried specialized equipment designed to scan, record, and measure the unknown without disturbing it. Everyone had been briefed. Observation first, interaction only if necessary. Elias walked among them, observing their preparations. The nervous energy in the crew reminded him of humanity's early space missions, eager, cautious, and full of hope. He nodded to Lieutenant Kara Lynn. "Are the scanners calibrated?" Kara smiled faintly. "Everything is ready, sir. We can map the chamber down to the smallest particle without touching it." Syra stood beside Elias, her violet glow soft but noticeable. "You humans are brave," she said quietly. "Most species would have demanded military support first. You come with science and honesty instead." Elias shook his head. "Bravery isn't just about weapons, Ambassador. Sometimes it's about respect for life, for history, for the unknown." Syra nodded, watching him. "Then let's hope the structure appreciates that as well." The descent into the unknown, the expedition moved in armored transport pods toward the Epsilon Rift, where the mining base had been located. The surface winds kicked up fine dust, creating a gray haze that clung to their suits. The ground trembled faintly beneath them, reminding them of the hidden power below. As they reached the surface entrance to the tunnels, Elias led the way. His steps were steady, confident, and deliberate. He did not rush. Behind him, the crew followed, checking sensors and scanning every wall. Kara spoke softly into the communicator. "Sir, energy readings are rising again. The pulses are rhythmic, almost like a heartbeat." Elias nodded. "Good, that means it's still alive, still observing. We move carefully, and it will see us as guests, not intruders." The tunnels were silent, save for the soft hum of machinery and the occasional vibration from deep underground. When they reached the bottom shaft, the familiar chamber appeared, the circular room with the mysterious pillar in the center. Its spiraling metal surfaces pulsed faintly with light. Syra moved forward, her hand hovering near the pillar without touching it. "It's beautiful," she whispered. The human crew surrounded it carefully. Holographic scanners projected a three-dimensional map of the structure. Strange symbols flickered on its surface, shifting like living patterns. Elias studied the readings. "The energy isn't just reactive, it's aware. It's observing us. It's trying to communicate." One of the Vexari scientists stepped forward. "Captain, the harmonic resonance is increasing. It's like it's listening and responding to our presence." Elias smiled faintly. "Then we speak back in the only way we know how. With caution, respect, and observation." A message in light as the team moved in closer. The pillar pulsed brighter. The holographic patterns expanded, showing images of planets, stars, and great structures orbiting distant suns. Symbols glowed in a rhythm, and faint harmonic tones filled the chamber, resonating in everyone's chest. Elias raised his hand slowly. No sudden movements. "Let's let it understand us." For a long moment, the room was silent, save for the hum of the pillar and the soft breathing of the crew. Then, unexpectedly, the pillar projected a beam of light toward the ceiling. Within that light, shapes formed. Constellations, star systems, and finally a planet that looked remarkably like Earth. Syra's voice was quiet but firm. "It recognizes your species." Elias felt a chill run down his spine. "Not just my species," he said slowly. "It recognizes humans. It has seen our world before, or something like it." The symbols on the pillar shifted, forming patterns that suggested memory, history, and knowledge. The resonance grew, almost like it was trying to share understanding rather than demand control. Kara checked her tablet. Sir, the harmonic pattern is stable. It's not hostile, it's curious, Elias nodded. Curiosity is always a good start. The first connection over the next hours, the expedition began communicating with the structure indirectly. They used harmonic emitters to mimic the pulses of the pillar. Slowly, carefully, the structure responded. Symbols shifted more rapidly. Holographic projections grew more detailed. Elias watched closely. It's teaching us, showing us something. One of the Volari scientists whispered. It's a record of civilizations. Many worlds, many species. And yet the pattern shows destruction too. Catastrophes caused by ambition without understanding. Elias understood immediately. It's a warning. Just like the message said before, it's waking up but not to attack. It's reminding us what happens when knowledge is misused. Syra's eyes softened. Humans may be the first species it trusts enough to learn from. Elias smiled faintly. Then we must not fail it or ourselves. Humanity's choice. After hours of careful observation, Elias gathered the team. The chamber glowed faintly around them, a reminder that the ancient structure was aware, alive, and listening. Everyone, he said, we have a choice. We can take Solarite and leave, ignoring this history, or we can pause, learn, and respect what we've discovered. Humanity has always been defined by choice and by the courage to do the right thing even when it's hard. The crew nodded. Every species present seemed to understand. The silence in the chamber felt heavy but purposeful. Syra spoke quietly. Your species is unusual, Captain. Even when faced with power or fear, you choose respect over conquest. That is why I think you will survive and why your species deserves a place in the galaxy. Elias bowed his head slightly. It's not about survival alone. It's about proving that humans can learn, understand, and inspire others. That's what we hope to leave behind in the galaxy. Wisdom, not just achievement. The awakening as the day ended. The structure pulsed one final time, sending waves of harmonic resonance through the chamber. Symbols projected into the air, showing countless stars, planets, and civilizations. Then slowly, a map of the galaxy appeared, highlighting regions where knowledge, cooperation, and respect had prevented disaster. Elias watched it carefully. It's showing us what works, what can survive, and it's including humans in that pattern, Kara whispered. It's like approval, Elias nodded. Or trust. Syra's violet glow softened, almost like a smile. You've turned a question meant to embarrass into something greater, Captain. You've shown the galaxy what humans can do. Not just survive, but lead, honestly and bravely. Elias looked at the glowing pillar one last time. And that's just the beginning. The return. The expedition left Vora 9 with careful measures in place. No equipment was removed. No structures touched. Only records and data taken back for study. Humanity's respect for knowledge and life had been proven. Not by force, not by argument, but by honesty, observation, and courage. When they returned to the Orion Assembly, the report was met with quiet awe. The Assembly realized that humans were not merely young and reckless. They were cautious, honest, and capable of extraordinary understanding. Even Ambassador Syra spoke aloud in the council chamber. The human Captain Ward has shown us that strength is not in pride, but in integrity, in honesty, and in courage tempered with respect. Humanity has earned its place not by conquest but by wisdom. The hall remained silent for a moment. Then slowly applause spread, not just from humans but from many species across the chamber. For the first time, a species so young had turned skepticism into admiration through truth alone. A human legacy later, as the stars shimmered outside the horizon, Elias stood at the observation deck. Sarah joined him silently. You've changed the Assembly's opinion, she said quietly. Not by force, not by speech, but by example. Elias looked at her. That's all humans can offer. If we inspire others to act wisely, if we choose honesty over pride, we can make the galaxy better. That's why we exist. Not just to survive, but to make a difference. Syra studied him for a moment, then nodded. Perhaps the question was not meant for you to answer, but to remind us what it means to be human. Elias smiled faintly. Then we've answered it, not with words meant to win, but with actions that speak louder than any speech. The stars outside seemed to shine brighter that night. Beneath Vora 9, the ancient structure pulsed softly, now calm, as if satisfied that its warning had been heard. Somewhere deep in the galaxy, The young species called humans had earned something rare: trust, respect, and a place among the stars, and humanity's story of courage, honesty, and wisdom had only just begun.